Before the video begins, I would like to mention that if you find this to be too long, you can always skip certain sections by using the timestamps below. This will not only teach you everything about the build, but also variants, whilst including a step-by-step on how to learn it as well. For the full build guide, check the pinned comment under the video or the description. Enjoy. Welcome to Condi Daredevil class. Gear. You are going to go full Viper with Crate runes. And you're going to be going full Condi infusions if you want to put this on. And then you're going to go with double dagger, one main end on one set, one off end on the other set. And the sages are going to be Earth and Doom. Assuming that you don't want to take extra CC, because it's a fight that doesn't require you to take the extra CC, you would run with this. If it is a fight where you want to run a lot of breakbar damage, so stuff that comes to mind would be Sabir. You would want to go with both daggers on the same set. So just move this around, boop. And then you take a pistol offhand on the other weapon set. This means that you are not going to be weapon swapping, right? Because obviously if you weapon swap, you have a pistol on the other set. And now if you press Death Blossom, it turned into Shadow Shot. And this doesn't really help you with DPS. So you're camping one weapon set and you're just swapping that blossom on that one. If you need CC, then you swap the pistol, press a lot of pistol force, which is a stupid amount of CC now. The sigil you would take on pistol is either going to be another bursting sigil, or you can take paralyzation. Let's talk about your traits. Deathly Arts. First trait. Stealing inflicts poison. While in the down state, your attacks apply poison. Now, this is extremely useful if you're somebody that likes to feed. Or if you're somebody that likes to check the temperature of the floor. You just like laying on the ground for other reasons. But obviously the relevant part here is that if you steal, you apply poison. Next trait, Deathly Ambition. Inflict poison when striking a foe with a dual wield attack. Gain increased condition damage. Even more poison, condition damage is increased, and yeah, you can see now that if you use Deathly Blossom on the Golem, it applies poison. So this isn't applying poison per hit. Deathly Blossom hits 3 times. It's not applying 3 stacks of poison. It's applying 2. Because as long as a dual attack skill is being used, it will apply poison every single time, right? 2 stacks every single time. And then you have extra condition damage. Next trait, Lotus Poison. Weaken targets when you poison them. Now, this does have an internal cooldown. So if I was to steal, now it does weakness. If I use Dagger 3, it doesn't get weakness again. This is useful to add extra condis to the enemy. It makes group DPS go higher, makes your DPS go higher, makes everybody DPS go higher. It also is a soft CC, which can be useful in some fights. Panic Strike. Immobilizing a foe poisons them. Striking a foe below the health threshold immobilizes them, right? So if an enemy is below 50% HP, you immobilize them, which means you also poison them at the same time, right? Again, even more poison damage. And your utilities that I definitely forgot to mention earlier, maybe I should do that first, actually include an immobilized Venom that I pinged in guild chat now accidentally. This is because the Vira Venom is actually more DPS than taking the Torment one. Exposed Weakness. Deal increased strike damage to your target for each unique condition on them. So, as I said before, the fact that you apply weakness from Lotus Poison is going to boost your damage, is going to boost your team's damage, because of traits exactly like this one. So if you have a Hollow, if you have a Spellbreaker, if you have a Weaver, classes that get value from having extra traits, classes that get value from having extra condis on the enemy, or classes that get value specifically from weakness, you are helping them with this trait a lot. It's a 6-second duration on a 10-second cooldown, and you're constantly applying it as well. Potent Poison. Poison you inflict has increased damage and duration. Other Deadly Arts traits apply additional stacks of poison. So if I was to take the trait off, like let's say I take Improvisation, for example, instead of Potent Poison, you can go now on Deathly Ambition. It only applies it only applies 1 stack of poison. Serpent's Touch, it only applies 1 or 2 stack of poisons. Panic Strike, it only applies 1 stack of poison. As soon as I take Potent Poison, you can see that everything becomes blue, because those things that you're hovering your mouse over are being affected by another trait. This trait is really nice, and it also increases the duration of the poison. Now let's look at the next trait line. Trickery. Kleptomaniac. Stealing gives you initiative. Next trait we have Uncatchable. Lesser Caltrops. If you dodge anywhere, you can see this little AoE on the ground. If you place this little AoE on an enemy, you can see that the enemy gets 3 stacks of bleeding and also cripple. And that is decent amount of bleeding for dodging that we want to do either way because of a Daredevil trait that we have later on. Keep in mind that you want to dodge to drop the trait, and you want to dodge on the enemy, right? If I was to dodge like this, that's not hitting, right? What is hitting is this right now. It's the Daredevil Condi dodge. Next trait. Increases maximum initiative by 3, gain increased expertise. So Trickery, what does Trickery do? It increases initiative. There's like everybody fucking, even my grandma knows this, right? Bountiful Theft. Stealing grants you and all nearby allies vigor. You rip boons from your target and grant them to nearby allies. Now, again, if you move your mouse over your F1, you can see this boons stolen 3, and it gives them to your allies, and this also gives you vigor, right? This is really good for you because on this build you are going to be dodging a lot, so vigor is good because you want to keep the dodge up because of their Daredevil trait, and also because of Caltrops. Lead attacks. Increases all damage dealt per initiative spent. Steal gains reduced recharge time. Now, spam your initiative. Yeah, this only works in combat. Oh, so yeah. If you look at me, nothing is happening, right? So you can't like pre-stack this out of combat and then you go in and you have the buff, right? But this is that power damage and condition damage and lifesteal damage. Maximum amount is obviously 15%. It lasts 10 seconds, so you are going to have this up a lot. The amazing thing about basically every Condi build in the game is that they all run Viper, which also has power and precision in the stats, right? So traits like this one that give you both condition and power damage are actually really fucking strong. And then we have the last one, which is bleeding related. Deadly Ambush. Stealing also applies bleeding. Bleeding you inflict deals more damage. However, unlike the poison trait from earlier, it doesn't increase the duration of the bleeding. It only buffs the damage. Physical Supremacy. Gain access to physical skills. Your maximum endurance threshold is increased, while steal is replaced with swipe. So, yes, obviously Daredevil, we have a 3rd dodge, which is good. Extra dodges. Feels good, man. Marauder's Resilience. Gain vitality based on a portion of your power. Damage is decreased from foes within the range threshold. We have a lot of power on our build, so we just got extra health for kind of free. Enemies that are within 360 radius around us, they do less damage to us. That is actually relevant because we are going to be on this build. You are evading a lot during your rotation, and you also want to be staying behind the enemy a lot. But the moment you aren't dodging and you're stuck in an animation, or you're not flanking the enemy and you're getting hit, you're going to be taking 10% less damage. Obviously, you also have protection. You might have some barrier, regen, and healing that prevents you from dying, but this trait is actually quite strong because you don't have to worry that much about stuff like Scholar uptime. So if you do want to face tank attacks, maybe you want to face tank 1 out attack, maybe 2, just to do the extra damage, you actually can, and you're not gonna die instantly. Your next attack after dodging causes weakness to foes struck. Weakened enemies deal less damage to you, and you deal increased strike damage to them. You're applying even more weakness, helping your group, helping yourself do more damage. It's a soft CC. You do extra power damage. Next trait. Havoc Specialist. Strike damage dealt increases based on endurance that is missing. This is obviously for power. We don't care too much, but 5% is a lot. And you are going to, I guess, as I said before, you're running Viper gear, right? Not only are you running Viper gear, you have this trait that increases also your power damage whenever you use initiative in combat. So now you have this one that increases your power damage. You have this one that increases your strike damage. You have this one that increases your power damage per missing endurance. And you have a dagger main end, right? You are now doing a relevant amount of power damage on this build. I don't know, I can make like a stupid example. If the boss is about to die, maybe you might want to consider spamming Heartseeker at the very end instead of using Dagger 3 or like dodging and Dagger 3 or something. Next trait, Endurance Thief. Gain endurance when you successfully steal from an enemy. Endurance gained 50. Right? This is also going to help you with the fact that you run out of initiative, run out of endurance a little bit. Next, big trait. Very big trait. Lotus Training. Your dodge ability now uses Impaling Lotus. Firing daggers at nearby enemies. Gain increased condition damage for a period of time when dodging. 4 seconds. No ICD. And what Impaling Lotus does, you can read it above, it does a little bit of damage, it does long duration bleed, torment, a little bit of cripple, hits 3 times, up to 3 targets, combat only, and obviously it's a dodge, so it also evades. And it's a will finisher. So if there is any fields on the ground, you can also get value from that. Try dodging. Hog. Look, it does nothing because you're not in combat. So attack the golem, dodge. You can see the little projectiles flying from your character. And this is what I was mentioning earlier with the lesser caltrops trait as well. If you're in combat and you dodge from far away, that's going to hit the Daredevil thingy, right? Because it throws them at an enemy. But your caltrops are not going to be hitting, right? So that's why you want to do both. You want your caltrops to be on the boss, and you also want your other thing to be on the boss. That's the traits. So very fast recap. Deadly Arts, apply a lot of poison. You apply weakness whenever you poison an enemy. Immobilize, poisons an enemy. Below 50%, you immobilize and poison an enemy. You poison with extra damage and duration. You deal extra damage per condi on an enemy by 2%. Pog. Trickery. Extra initiative, extra condition duration, extra bleeding damage, extra bleeding from dodging on an enemy. If your initiative is being used in combat, you do more power, condition, and lifesteal damage. You give yourself and your group vigor. You can steal boons. And, well, I mean, that's pretty much it. Daredevil. You take less damage from enemies within your 360 radius. You gain extra vitality based on your power, which you have a decent amount of. You do extra power damage. You apply weakness after every attack after dodging. Extra damage per missing endurance. Well, missing bar of endurance. Gain endurance when you steal an enemy. When you dodge, you throw stuff at the enemy that does damage. Condition damage as well with torment and bleeding. And you have a buff on your character that lasts for 4 seconds every time. That gives you a 15% condition damage buff. So let's actually get boons now already. And let's talk about your weapon skills. We actually only have 2 weapons we have to talk about. Pog. Dagger auto attack. Strike your foe twice. Double strike. Then we have Wild Strike. It hits once. It applies bleeding. And it also gives you endurance. That's a little weird, isn't it? Lotus Strike applies poison instead. And then we have Backstab, which we don't care about. If you look at your cast bar when you're auto-attacking, you won't see a yellow cast bar until the very final attack. If you look below on the screen.
That's weird.
Yes, because the other 2 auto attacks are insta-cast, technically. Even though they aren't. The game is just lying. You can blame... Honestly, I'm blaming CMC for that one. So if you want to know in which part of your auto attack you're in, you can do two things. Either wait for the final one and be like, okay, this is the last one, now I can dodge, right? Or you have to look at your animation. The final attack is going to be the one coming from above, right?
What? I just realized that I think that's the same animation as the last Soul Beast Dagger one.
Yes, it is exactly the same
stab.
one. Yeah. And it's the same for it's the same for Spellbreaker as well. It's just that the attacks are either separated. The first auto attack on Dagger on Thief, it's double strike. On Ranger, I believe, it's two separate attacks. But the animation is exactly the same. The difference is on Soul Beast, you do actually have all the cast bars. Because the attacks go like a little bit slower, or they just made them not be insta-cast on the tooltip. But yeah, just like, keep in mind, you won't be able to see the yellow bar until the final auto attack. So either get used to the very final one, being the one that comes from above, or the one before the final one, which is one that, it's kind of like a thrust attack. I don't know what it's called. Is it Lotus Strike? No, it's Wild Strike. Yeah, you can even see the icon, right? Or another thing you can do is if you're missing endurance and you do the second auto attack, you can see your endurance go up a decent amount. It gives 10 endurance. So your endurance just kind of like spikes up. You can do that as well, because that's kind of where your eyes are going to be anyway. They're going to be on your initiative endurance bar, right? But that is the auto attack. Wow, Bog. Bleeding Poison. Again, initiative when you're actually attacking enemy with a second auto attack. Now let's go Heartseeker. Leap and strike your foe. The less health your target has, the more damage you cause. This might seem a completely useless skill. This is actually really, really good if you need to move somewhere. You don't have a short bow on this build. You don't have a shadow step. The only movement skills you have are going to be your Steel, your Dagger 2, and your Unstable Artifact. But yeah, Unstable Artifact is going to be another movement skill you have. It's actually also a DPS increase. But it immobilizes the target as well, right? And obviously, if you mobilize the target, you apply poison. So you can use this to move around, or if you don't have this, because it's a fight that doesn't have the Unstable Artifact, you can use Dagger 2. Now, keep one thing in mind. If you use too many Dagger 2s, you won't have enough initiative to continue your rotation. So I can make the example of 100 CM Fractal, Sanqua Peak on the end boss, obviously in challenge mode, right? If the boss is dashing all the way on the other side of the arena, you might want to use 1 or 2 Heartseekers to get there really, really fast. So what you could do is use Heartseeker, walk a little bit, and then as you get in range of your Steel, you can dodge Steel. So that you upkeep your dodge buff, you trigger... Well, you actually don't trigger the Caltrops, because the Caltrops are going to trigger all the way back here. So that's a little weird. Or you could also do Dagger 3 Steel, right? And then you trigger the Caltrops afterwards, right? Next skill. Everybody's favorite, Death Blossom. Yeah, dual wielding, it applies poison. That's a dual wield skill, Pog. If you were to run I don't know, like pistol offhand, then you can use pistol dagger, well, dagger pistol 3. That would also apply poison, I guess, but obviously ideally you don't want to do that. You only want to use that for CC. So this hits 3 times and it applies a lot of bleeding. It's an evade, it's a whirl finisher, and fun fact, the skill has no cooldown. Did you know that? Why are you not laughing at my joke? Fuck you. Dancing Dagger. Throw a dagger that cripples nearby foes and returns to you. So this is a bouncing dagger. We call it Dancing Dagger because that's the name. We call it Bouncing Dagger because it bounces, right? Makes sense. This is kind of fucking useless, I'll be honest. This only has one use, maybe two, if you want to like... if you want to be like a nerdga, you know? I'll make one example of when you want to use this. Two, actually, as I said. Cairn. When Cairn is porting around the platform with his, you know, when he's placing greens around the platform, you can actually use this before he appears somewhere so that the dagger actually hits, right? So he's okay, he's gonna move there next, then you press it, so skill retargeting will basically make the skill go where it's supposed to be, in the middle of the cast. However, you don't want to always do this. It's not like, oh, the boss is porting all over the place, I'm using Dagger 4, I'm doing big damage. No, because then you waste all of your initiative, and when the boss comes back in the middle, you don't have any initiative to do your normal rotation. Because obviously Dagger 4 is a DPS loss compared to doing all of your other shit, right? So if you're in the situation where Cairn is porting around the platform and you're overcapping on initiative, well, like right now, you're not pressing any skills, you're overcapped on initiative, use Dagger 4, right? Then your initiative is going to start building up again. You can maybe use like 1 or 2, but obviously if you are in the middle of the fight, you are not going to be full. Like, let's say you're doing like your normal DPS rotation, and now Cairn is like porting around. My initiative is still building up. I don't really want to do anything, right? But then at the very end, maybe I can throw like 1, right? Maybe I just stole and I have extra initiative than I normally would have. Maybe I wasn't doing full damage rotation before the port because I was resting somebody, right? Right? Basically, you want to make sure that your initiative is never capped. At that point, throw Dagger 4. Another thing you can use this for is maybe on Doom. When on the entrance Reaper, there is too many spiders killing the ad. You can maybe throw like 1 or 2 of these, and it will do a lot of damage. A little bit of torment, a little bit of power damage, kill the spiders, it bounces everywhere. Maybe you don't even kill the spiders fully, maybe somebody else goes. But if you have like really, really good boons after the split phase, it will actually just kill them. Use 2 daggers, 4s on the spiders, be a team player, save the group. Cloak and Dagger. The most use we can get out of the skill is the vulnerability it applies. Wow, look at that. The golem is vuln capped now. Insane. This, we are never going to use this. Ever, basically. It stealths you. It's very, very close melee range, obviously, so you can't really do much with it. But keep that in mind. It does stealth you. That's it for weapon skills. Let's talk about profession skills. So, Steel. You already know what Steel does at this point. It steals boons, gives them to allies, applies poison, gives you vigor and your allies as well. Bleeding, gives you 2 initiative. It's unblockable for some reason. And it's also 600 range instead of the usual, because Daredevil. Pog. Now, Steel in raids is very controversial. From stealing some useless skills to stealing absolutely nothing, because the devs forgot Thief was even in the game. There's only like a couple of skills that are really useful on Daredevil that you can steal in raids. Hey guys, Future Mela here. Since in the guide I did on stream, the F2 skills you can steal and what they do was a complete mess, I will just do it here instead and leave a link in the first comment of the video as well. This is a list of the useful stolen skills and more or less what they do. Generally, any skill that is an insta-cast or very short cast time and does a lot of condition damage is worth using. The boon ones are good for group boons or for yourself if they're lacking. And power ones, unless they do huge damage, aren't worth using unless it's maybe for utility purposes. Like Magnetic Bomb, for example. Remember to always use these without interrupting any skills or your auto-attack chains. Avoid using them when you're doing 2 auto-attack chains as well, or doing 1 chain and 1 trap placement. You really don't want any downtime on your Lotus training trait by delaying your dodges more than you need to. Let's talk about utilities real quick. So, utility number 1, you have Channeled Vigor. Channel your energy to gain endurance and health per pulse. Heal for more if your endurance is full. This is just a really, really strong healing skill. The one disadvantage of having this is the fact that you have this trait, Strike damage dealt increases based on endurance that is missing. But realistically, you are only going to be using this if you're actually really fucking dying. Or if you actually need endurance, because you maybe used it for something else. Or, very specific example, you have this trait, right? Whenever you dodge for the next 4 seconds, your condition damage is increased by 15%. Now, let's say that... Good example on Doom, right? You have a bomb. You move out with the bomb, and now you're just staring at the boss, and your condition damage is ticking on the boss. You're bleeding or poison, torment, bleeding, poison is ticking. Now...
Oh, no DPS loss. Hog.
Yeah. No DPS loss, sure.
No DPS.
You want those condies to keep doing really, really good damage, right? So you want to dodge to keep the buff up, even if you're not there attacking it, right? Let's say Matthias, you're dropping a mechanic, right? You're going to the fountain to drop a mechanic. Maybe you're using Heartseeker. Maybe you're walking, whatever you're doing. You want to make sure that the straight never runs out, right? So you can actually see this on your buff bar, obviously. The straight is about to run out, you have to dodge, right? This is exactly how the DPS rotation works as well. Something as you can take a Scalp Venom as your healing skill if you're doing... I really like to take this on Sabir. On Sabir, people tend to stack on top of each other way too hard with the AoE explosion, the one that gives you the action key. So I line this up exactly with the explosion, so I give Venom to everybody. This also obviously heals you as well, so it's not only healing through the Venom, but you could take this, so you can line that up with that. If your group is like really good, you don't have to do that really. You can just keep Channel Vigor. You can even take Signet to Malice. Whenever you attack, you gain health. This is really good for Writ Uptime. Combined with Protection and this trait, this is always going to keep you above 90% HP for the Writ. Next utilities. Spider Venom. Poison foes with your next few attacks. Radius 240, so it's not a massive radius. But obviously, if you're stacking with the group, it kind of is. And same goes for Devourer Venom. Your attacks immobilize foes. Now, the immobilize one is good because of this. Immobilizing a foe poisons them, right? Now, one thing to keep in mind with these Venoms, just like the healing one, is that if your allies are out of range, you are not going to activate the Venom. You want to wait until everybody is in range. So I can make the example of... Again, I can make the example of Sanqua Peak, like 100 cm. Obviously, you have a Heartseeker for movement. You have a Steel to appear instantly next to the target. You don't want to... Like, come over here, right? If you do this, and then you pop your Venoms, you're giving Venoms to fucking nobody, right? You don't want to do that. You want to either give the Venoms first, and then you steal. Or you want to steal and wait for people to get close to you, and then you give the Venoms afterwards. Ideally, you would want to give them first, and then you leave, so that you put them on cooldown, which makes them come off cooldown sooner, right? Or you want to do something like give your Venoms to your Thieves Guild, and then you run away, right? Steal to the boss, or whatever you want to do. The important thing to note here is that the Venoms are your utility skill, but they become very much less valuable the moment you don't have somebody to give them to. So you want to make sure that, let's say you're doing Doom, right? Your group is here where I'm jumping, and you are standing where the golem is. You want to make sure you move like over here, so that the people are in range of your Venoms. So you kind of need to play around with your positioning. Also because in the middle of the rotation, you're constantly moving all over the place. So you want to maybe dodge a certain direction so that when you land with Dagger 3, you can pop the Venoms on top of the players, right? Maybe the other way around. Maybe you want to dodge from a certain angle so you can move towards people, press the Venoms, and then go somewhere else, right? Gotta keep that in mind. that's it for the Venoms. Now, prepare 1,000 needles. Mark your current area with inhabiting magic, raiding the location to poison enemies. You place it. After a little bit, it's ready to be pressed, and it does damage, right? Wait, let me actually get out of combat so I can read the second part as well.
The conditions that it says, does it do those only at the start or per pulse?
I think some of them is per pulse. I can check right now. Yeah. So the bleeding and the poison are per pulse, and then the weakness and the immob are only once. But that is because those are coming from
The
traits.
weakness from
Actually,
the
no,
trait,
they
yeah.
are. Yeah, well, the weakness is coming from the trait, yeah. But no, the immob only happens once. So this applies a lot of bleeding, applies a lot of poison. It's also unblockable. 5 procs. Big power damage as well, I guess, kind of. The one thing
I was gonna ask.
you mentioned... Go on.
Okay, I was gonna ask, is there anything that blocks? Like, I'm seeing it has a decent amount of unblockable skills, but is there anything in PvE that actually blocks?
Not really, no. Like, you have ads on Twisted Castle or the Matthias pre-event.
Oh yeah, the
They're
clerics, I think.
Yeah, it's the annoying clerics. They block for a long time, then they also heal everybody. Like, there's a lot of unblockable stuff, but that's mostly because of other game modes, honestly.
Oh, okay.
And like trade interactions with like the days on Trickery or whatever. One thing that you mentioned earlier is, well, yeah, subject 7, I guess, as a block. So you can keep hitting with certain skills while he's blocking everything, right? That is true. You mentioned earlier that sometimes the trap is weird because people move out of it. Matthias can do this. It can move out a lot, especially in like a messy pug group. If that is happening and you don't want to deal with it, you can just take the Torment Venom as well, and you just go 3 Venoms instead. Or you can... You need to kind of try to read the fight and where you're going to be moving next. Matthias moves to the furthest target away constantly. So this is like really reading the fight that we are not in right now. But if you're fighting the group close to a fountain, you want to place the trap between the boss and the fountain, right? So that at some point, if somebody gets the poison, you're always going to be hitting the target, right? Or somebody's like dying really far away, you want to place a trap like somewhere else, like over here maybe, right? Generally, if you don't fucking know what's going on, just place the trap in the middle of the boss's hitbox, exactly in the center, so that it doesn't matter in which direction he moves a little bit, it will always be in it, right? There is other fights like Mursat Overseer, where the boss might move between the tiles a little bit. One thing that you can do there is really simple, is you always place the trap between all 4 tiles. So that no matter what's happening, the boss will always be in the trap, and the trap is always going to trigger, right? You can also do this on other fights, obviously. Like in something like Sanqua Peak under CM, you need to be a little bit careful because the boss dashes all over the place. Obviously, you need encounter knowledge to place stuff like this that is delayed. You can also just place the trap on the ground and leave it there for a while until the boss moves back to it. It might never happen, right? If the boss never moves back in the trap, obviously you're gonna be really sad. But the trap cooldown starts from the moment you place it, not from the moment you activate it. So right now, if this trap is like not being... I don't want to trigger it on anybody because nobody is there. I can just activate it. Now it's off cooldown and I can instantly place it again next time, right? So yeah, you can just kind of place it there and be like, okay, the boss will eventually move into it and then I can press it. Obviously, you're delaying your damage, but assuming that the fight is really long and the boss isn't dead, you aren't really wasting any DPS, let's say, right? Otherwise, just go triple Venoms on stuff like Matthias and just
That's
have fun.
the ally less brain power option, right?
Yes, it does actually change your rotation maybe a little bit if you do that, but it's not the end of the world. And now you have your lead skill. Thieves Guild is good for DPS, especially in Fractals. You can cast Thieves Guild, pre-cast the Venoms, and then reactivate, reset your cooldowns with the Mistlock. And once the fight starts, the Venoms from the Thieves Guild will not be removed as if they were players, because they're obviously not players, right? So this is a pretty good DPS increase in Fractals. You can also do this in a real fight. In a real fight, obviously, you can't really do that on yourself because the Venoms get removed from yourself. So ideally, you want to wait and give it to allies instead. So you also keep the Venoms.
Yeah, in theory, recasting Venoms on Thieves Guild in raids, that would be a DPS loss, right? Because you're sharing to less entities.
Yes. Ideally,
right.
in raids, you want to use Thieves Guild just for damage, not for Venom sharing, right?
Yeah, I was thinking at the start of Murstad Overseer or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, other elites you can take, obviously Bazi Venom, big breakbar damage on fights that have a lot of CC. Where would you play this that actually has a lot of CC? Under CM maybe. You can precast the Venoms on Thieves Guild, then you take the Mistlock and you take Bazi Venom instead, with the Thieves Guild still up. Just keep in mind this is really, really good CC. So if you need extra breakbar damage, you don't want to take the pistol in your weapon sets. Just take Bazi Venom and you'll be good. If you need even more CC, then you can go with both.
I was only thinking of Sabir.
Yeah, oh yeah,
I could come up with.
Yeah. So Sabir is definitely
The main
good,
one.
right? You can definitely take this on Sabir. Especially when people ping the action key or whatever they're pinging for like the coordinated CC. As soon as that happens, you pop Bazi Venom. It's gonna help with the breakbar so much.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I still want confirmation. At Sabir, I could do, like, if I'm taking a pistol because I'm, for some reason, helping out.
Yes.
If I have para on the pistol, I switch first, Bazi, and it gets buffed by para, right? Does it get buffed by para sigil? I don't know what stun duration is if it's considered for the sigil.
Paralyzation is still broken. It still affects stuns and dazes, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they ever fixed that. But yeah, ideally you would want to do that as well. Obviously, you use Bazi on top of paralyzation sigil, right? You can actually, like, it's quite disgusting. You can do. I'm gonna make up a random number now. Like, you can do like 80% of the Sabir breakbar by yourself by running pistol offhand with paralyzation, Bazi Venom, and pressing the special action key. You can melt the breakbar so fast, it's disgusting. Another elite skill you can use. Look, you can use Dagger Storm if you want to do some memes on Doom. During the split phase, you can go under Doom and evade all of his damage procs by using Dagger 3, dodging, and using Dagger Storm as well. Let's just say that nobody's ever gonna do that.
Yeah,
so
I know it's never gonna happen.
I'm just gonna mention this because it's something that you can do if you get like really, really consistent at doing it, or you really want to like get big DPS going on. But the other utility that you can also use would be Impact Strike, which is the other CC skill. This is specifically for Matthias, I want to say. Matthias Bazi Venom is really good now that it actually does work, because it was broken for a long time.
No way.
Yeah, I know, right? The problem with Buzzy Venom on Matthias is that you have 2 targets you're hitting. More in some cases. If you have Buzzy Venom on your allies, and your allies are not using it to CC the ally in the middle, but they're using it to attack the boss, then the Buzzy Venom is useless.
Ah. So Bassi is useless.
Yes, exactly. Like, you have... Some people in the subgroup aren't even gonna try to CC, right? The people that are trying to CC might accidentally hit the boss first, or during the CC. So it's overall just more break bar damage to go Impact Strike and using the first 2 skills that actually do break bar damage, right? So you do boop, boop, and then you go back to doing damage on the boss. It doesn't take that long. And also, you ideally replace this with maybe your auto attack chain, or you do it in between the 2 auto attack chains, or you do 1 auto attack chain, then CC, and then go back to attacking the boss normally, right? Now, exactly when to use stuff like this CC, exactly when to use stuff like traps, exactly when to use stuff like unstable artifact, it will be a lot clearer once we talk about the rotation, which is actually now. So a little recap about everything, weapon skills and utilities and everything. So Dagger out attack, good. Gives you initiative, poison, bleeding. Dagger... I'm dying. Nice, I'm choking. Dagger 2, movement skill. Can be good if a boss is about to die or a target is about to die below 25% HP. When it's like really, really close to dying, you just spam Art Seeker, like maybe once or twice. Dagger 3, we're going to be using this a lot together with our dodge to do big damage. Dagger 4, if you're overcapped on initiative because of downtime or because you're far away from the enemy for some reason, you can maybe use 1 or 2. Just make sure to not use too many, because otherwise when you go back to the boss, you don't have initiative to do your normal rotation, which is that blossom, basically, right? Dagger 5 is useless. It gives you stealth, it applies vuln, but nobody cares. Profession skills. Your steal is giving you poison, bleeding, initiative, and steals boons and gives them to allies. Gives you vigor. This skill is really, really good. Your F2 relevant ones are going to be Unstable Artifact that I mentioned earlier, and one that I forgot to mention. I said there would be 2, I only mentioned 1. The other one is the Plasma that gives all boons to your team besides Alacrity. That one is really useful in fights where your boon uptime is low or bad, because your pug group is a little sus. Utility recap. Healing skill, take Channel Vigor. If you need extra burst healing, take the Venom. If you really care about your raid uptime and it's not a fight where you need to move away a lot, so stuff like Cairn maybe, you can take Signet of Malice. Utilities, Spider Venom. You give Venom to allies, they attack, and the damage counts towards your damage, because it uses your stats and your traits as well. Make sure that whenever you use this or Devourer Venom, allies are around, otherwise you're kind of wasting it a little bit. The trap, you place it, after a bit you can activate it, it does big damage. If the target is often going to move out of it, just replace the trap with the Torment Venom, the Scale Venom. And then you can just activate all 3 whenever allies are around and just call it a day, right? Otherwise, you can play around with predicting where the enemy is going to move, or place it in the center of the hitbox so that it's equally distant from the center, and no matter where it moves, it will always kind of be in range, right? Keep in mind the cooldown starts from when you place it, not from when you activate it. So it's a little bit easier to not miss out on the damage from the trap that way, right? Elite skill, you want to take Thieves Guild for DPS. Otherwise, if you need CC, you take Bowsy Venom. If you need CC on a boss exactly like Matthias, and maybe only Matthias, you are taking Impact Strike, because there is no risk of the Bowsy Venom going on the boss. It will always go on the target, because this is a single target skill. Let's talk about your DPS rotation. Okay, so I actually have a really, really funny little script on how to break this rotation down into 2 steps. I was using this to make like a short guide for Conde Daredevil. Okay, so the main loop of the rotation is going to be dodge, dagger 3, auto attack chain. So do that real quick. Dodge, 3, auto attack chain. Dodge, 3, auto attack chain. Now, in the text guide I wrote, do this until your brain turns into mush and memorize it, since it's what you'll be doing for most of the rotation. That is true and real. That is exactly what you'll be doing for most of the rotation. This build, this is the skeleton of the rotation. It's over. You do dodge, dagger 3, and then an auto attack chain, and now you're done. That's the entire rotation. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions, let me know. If you keep on doing this over and over and over again, you will eventually run out of everything. We want the rotation to not be like interrupting auto attacks. Sometimes you use dagger 3, sometimes you don't. We want it to be a smooth... If you remember, stealing gives you initiative. And it's also damage increase because it gives you poison and bleeding, right? So we want to steal off cooldown, and every time we steal we get a little bit of initiative, so that's going to help us with being able to do dagger 3 every time after we dodge, right? And it's going to make it a little bit easier. So if you do that, you already find that the rotation is maybe a little bit easier, and it's going to be it will run out, you will run out of initiative later on, but that is not enough. Right? We have other skills that we can use, right? We have our trap, and we have our Venoms. Now, the Venoms are insta-cast. So the moment I say, okay, now you learn the basic rotation, which is dodge, dagger 3, auto attack chain. Let's add the Venoms to the rotation. You're gonna say, but Mela, nothing fucking changes, they're insta-cast. And I will tell you that you're right. So do the exact same thing. Press the Venoms off cooldown when your teammates are around. Boom, there you go. You're doing like 50 million DPS already, right? Now it gets into the weird zone, right? I was talking about the straight a lot earlier. The trait lasts 4 seconds, right? So the moment I do dodge, dagger 3, and I do 1 auto attack chain, my trait is about to run out, and there is going to be a situation in which I have to place my trap, right? I still want to do an auto attack chain because it actually gives me endurance. I don't want to miss on the auto attack chain because otherwise I will eventually run out of endurance, and then I'm sad because instead of being out of initiative, I'm out of endurance, and it's the exact same thing. You don't want to be out of either one. So what we want to do is you get to a point where you're running out of stuff. This will happen naturally, but you want to place your trap off cooldown, exactly like activating the Venoms, exactly like your steal. Placing the trap off CD. So let's place it at the beginning, and then we can start doing the rotation, right? Now the trap is going to come off cooldown, right? At some point, eventually in the future. So the trap is off cooldown, I just place it and I continue as normal. And then I just press it whenever I can press it, because the pressing is actually an insta-cast, right? You never want to interrupt the main thing that you're doing. Now, if the trap comes off cooldown after you dodged, you will place it first and then use dagger 3. And then you just keep going as normal, right? If the trap is off cooldown after you did dodge dagger 3, you place it, do an auto attack chain, and then continue as normal. If it comes off cooldown after you did 1 auto attack chain, you place it and continue as normal. Now, there is a weird part of the rotation. This will actually happen maybe more in real encounters. When instead of doing 1 auto attack chain, like I told you before, dodge, dagger 3, auto attack chain, you have to do 2 auto attack chains. This is because you don't have initiative or you don't have endurance. Now, I said before, your dodge timing, right? Again, you do dodge, dagger 3, auto attack chain, auto attack chain. Your trait now ran out. So the moment you do dodge, dagger 3, auto attack chain twice, and you place the trap on top of that, your trait ran out. You don't want to do that, right? You want to alternate. You want to either do 2 auto attack chains together. You want to do 1 auto attack chain and trap. You want to do trap and 1 auto attack chain. You never want to do 3 or 4 things at once, right? Another example, you need to use your healing skill because you're fucking dying, right? You do 1 auto attack chain, healing skill, and then you continue, right? You don't want to do 2 auto attack chains, healing skill, and then you continue. You don't want to do healing skill, 2 auto attack chains, and then you continue, right? You always want to make sure that the trait is up all the time. You never want to run out of this trait. As soon as the trait is gone, the condi ticks that are on the target have a 15% less damage. That's a ridiculous amount of damage you're losing, right? So again, maybe you're dropping a mechanic, you're not even next to the target. You want to keep the dodge up so that the condis on the target keep on doing that amount of damage, right? So this is how the rotation is going to be. You're going to be doing dodge, dagger 3, 1 auto attack chain, dodge, dagger 3, 1 auto attack chain the entire time. Use the Venoms of cooldown, use the Steel of cooldown, and place the trap of cooldown. Just keep in mind, you are never going to be doing 2 auto attack chains and place the trap. You need to think of it like this. You are replacing the cast time of the auto attack chain with the trap, right? In the case you're doing 2 of them. Instead of doing 2 auto attack chains, you do 1 and the trap. That's going to be the same well, it's not exactly the same, but it's going to take just as long as if you were doing 2 auto attack chains.
Is Thief skill the same filler, or is the really long cast time not worth using mid-fight or mid-rotation?
Yeah, I don't think it's worth using mid-fight, no. You can use it at the beginning of phases, before the boss comes back. Yeah. But no, in the middle of the fight, no. It could be good if a lot of people in the group are dead, and you need somebody to give Venoms to. If it's like you and somebody else alive, then you can spawn Thieves Guild, just so you have 5 players that you can give the Venoms to.
If you don't have friends, make friends.
Yeah, it could be useful maybe as Samurog CM, you know, in the last phase or something. That's kind of everything, really. Again, with a recap on everything, really. Dodge, dagger 3, auto attack chain. Dodge, dagger 3, auto attack chain. Use the Venoms of cooldown. Place the trap of cooldown. And use the Steel of cooldown. Now, the only thing you have to add is the weapon swap. Swapping weapons is good because of the fact that you have Doom Sigil. Your next attack will inflict 3 stacks of poison for 8 seconds after swapping to this weapon in combat. Now, the weapon swap is a little awkward. You want to do it without interrupting skills. Right? So if you were doing dagger 3 and you weapon swap in the middle of it, you can actually do that if you do it a little bit later on. But ideally, you want to do this in the middle of a dodge, because it doesn't interrupt anything. So dodge, weapon swap, so that the sigil also instantly procs because of your because of this, right? This is throwing stuff at the enemy is gonna instantly proc the sigil as well, right? So at the beginning of a fight, instead of doing like the auto attack chain meme, what you do is you dodge and you use dagger 3 times. So that's your opener, actually. So you do dodge, dagger 3, dagger 3, dagger 3 and steal, and then you dodge and dagger 3 again. And then you will find yourself in what I like to call the weird zone, where your initiative and your endurance will constantly be almost out. But then as soon as you place your trap, and you do that extra auto attack chain, or you steal, then your endurance and initiative are going to be fine again, and you can just continue. The opener is going to be dodge, dagger 3, dagger 3, dagger 3 steal, dodge, dagger 3, auto attack chain, dodge, dagger 3, auto attack chain, dodge, dagger 3, auto attack chain. And you just do this the entire time, right? You can see my cooldowns are really, really tight. Now I need to do 2 auto attack chains, some out of initiative. I need to do 2 auto attack chains again, because I'm out of initiative. Now my steal comes off cooldown. Now my trap is ready. And you just kind of do this the entire time. In a real encounter, you know what I was mentioning earlier about maybe dropping a mechanic, maybe Cairn is teleporting really far away and such. You will find yourself with a lot of initiative when the boss comes back or when you go back to the boss. You want to do the opener again, right? It works exactly like any other build. You want to kind of, you can think of that as restarting your opener, right? The difference here is that you don't have cooldowns that you need to line up, you have initiative that you have to spend. You never want to be a full initiative. So if Cairn is sporting around the platform, throw a dagger 4, maybe 2, to make sure that you don't overcap initiative and waste damage. Make sure you're keeping your dodge up so that the condis that are on the target are still taking and doing big damage. But as soon as the boss is back or you're back to the boss, you're redoing the opener again. So you're doing dodging, dagger 3 times. And now you're again in the weird zone where your initiative is all not getting wasted. Just always keep in mind, never do 2 auto attack chains while you're waiting for the initiative and endurance to come back, and also place the trap. If you do that, the straight will have a little bit of downtime, which might make you lose some damage. Let's talk about some real encounters. Something that is, it might actually blow people's brains. They might have to quit the video after this. But I'm going to give you a very good example of positioning on specifically a fight like Zera. So you're doing Zera on the edge. If you do dodge in front of the boss, you're like, oh, obviously Blur Frenzy is going to hit me. No, you fall off the platform and die. That's the relevant thing here. So one thing that is really simple that you can do is move to the side. And now you're not falling off the platform anymore. That's it. That's all you do. You can do this with everything. You can do this with Staff 5 on Rev. You can do this with Axe 2 on Mirage. You can do this with Dodges and Dagger 3 on Daredevil, right? You can even do this on stuff like Kadim 1 in the second phase, where the boss doesn't have a back of the platform, technically. And this is the most important thing of this build, actually. It's positioning, right? That is the most relevant thing. Matthias Tornadoes. I don't have markers because unfortunately they have completely ruined the training area. So stay over here and roleplay as a tornado for me. If I dodge now, I dodge into you. So what do? I simply dodge sideways, right? If I am over here now and I have to dodge Dagger 3, I will Dagger 3 into you. You are a tornado. I am not gonna die because it's 2023. Tornadoes are basically useless. But I will lose a lot of damage if it catches me, right? So what I want to do is just always keep in mind, if you dodge on a standing still target, if you dodge in a direction and you use Dagger 3, you will always come back the opposite direction, right? So right now I do this, I will go back exactly over there, right? I do this, I go back exactly over there. Right? It's not exactly every single time. It depends on the hitbox size of the enemy. Maybe moves a little bit or whatever, but you need to keep in mind that you can actually fix this by moving. So right now, if I don't want to end up where you are, I simply do, in the middle of my auto attack chain, right? I will do this. And now I'm not dead. Oh, the tornado is adjusting position. Okay, I adjust my position so it doesn't catch me. This also goes for Doom Oils and Mursato Overseer Spikes. However, if we're talking about Doom Oils and Mursato Overseer Spikes specifically, it gets a little bit weirder. Because in those fights, you have to do something that everybody hates to do. That is untarget the enemy when dodging and using Dagger 3. You actually have to do this a lot on Mursato Overseer if you don't want to lose damage. Or on Doom, if you don't want to roll into one of the oils. What you want to do is dodge. You can have the enemy targeted. It honestly doesn't matter. But you want to dodge. And ideally, you untarget the enemy before, just because it's easier. Because you're doing auto attacks, right? It's easy to untarget while you're auto attacking. You dodge. Then you turn around. And you use Dagger 3 like this. Like, the difference is that if I now target the enemy and I do the exact same thing, my Dagger 3 will go in this direction. And now I'm inside an oil, or I'm dead to a spike. Right? If I do it without targeting the enemy, my Dagger 3 will go where I'm facing instead. Right? You need to be careful, especially on small lit boxes, because you might miss all of your Dagger 3s. But you need to aim it manually, basically, that's the thing. Something else with moving enemies. If an enemy is moving in a certain direction, instead of doing... Let's say the golem is gonna walk forward now, right? It's walking forward. Instead of doing this and this, because otherwise this would make me go over here, technically, because it's walking forward. You need to predict the movement a little bit and use it accordingly. So if the golem is moving forward, I am not going to be doing this and this, because it might like fuck me over. I'm going to maybe move back a little bit more with my dagger auto attack, and I might do this instead, so that it makes me go in the same direction, but it's not going to make me go too far that I might fall off a platform, go into an oil, into some spikes or something. Another thing you can do is do it sideways instead of back to front or side to side. So if you do this and the target moves, you're kind of getting fucked over. If you do this and the target moves, you're kind of getting fucked over. But if you do it like... I don't even know what the word in English for this is, but if you do it like neither of those two, if you do it in an X pattern, this will make me go over here, and then if the boss moves, my Dagger 3 will make me go over here. So you kind of like minimize the movement, and you also still do the same amount of damage. The only thing you're missing out on is the Caltrop, because the Caltrop is gonna, diagonal. The Caltrop is gonna be left behind, but it's still better than like doing this, and then your Dagger 3 misses completely because the target moved away, right? The Caltrop DPS loss isn't as relevant as missing Dagger 3. So always keep that in mind when you're using them, right? Cairn teleports. Like, Cairn teleports, you don't want to get teleported. You're like, oh, there's a teleport over there when I go back. Or like, there's a teleport under me when I come back. I just move a little bit on the left side, and then I go over here, and now I miss the teleport, right? You can even use special action key on Cairn to move you around. You can use your unstable artifact to move around. Just always remember, use special action key, unstable artifact, all of these things without interrupting your skills. So finish an auto attack chain, then do it. Do it first, then start your auto attack chains. Never interrupt anything. Remember, do not interrupt your auto attacks. If you do 2 auto attack chains now or later, it doesn't matter. You have to do an extra auto attack chain either way at some point. So you have to start an auto attack chain because your dodge isn't up yet. Just finish the auto attack chain, okay? You want to finish it because look at what your auto attacks even do, right? Your auto attacks are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
If you only do the first auto attack, double strike, you're actually losing value instead of like gaining value. Because that one does nothing. The other two, one of them gives you endurance and bleeding, and the final one gives you a lot of poison, right? So it's actually good to finish the auto-attack chain. They are fillers, but they're also directly part of the rotation because of the endurance regeneration and the condies they apply, right? But yeah, if you ever need a lot of CC, just take both daggers like this, change the Doom sigil to be a bursting sigil, and then take a pistol offhand with either bursting, if you want to do a little bit of CC, or take paralyzation if you want to do a lot of CC. Especially in a fight like Sabir. This is going to be insane breakbar damage. You can basically solo the breakbar if you take Bazi, paralyzation, spam pistol 4, and also use the special action key from the actual fight, right? It is going to be huge CC.